Welcome to EnigmaCast, everybody. Thursday night live. You know how we do it around here. I'm trying to be a little bit more consistent with going live so I can spend more time interacting with you guys one-on-one. We are going live tonight on YouTube and on Rumble. Give me a few seconds to let both of these streams sync up, and then we will be able to get going as we go. Again, I am streaming live on vertical on YouTube as well, but in my stream settings here, it looks like that it is actually not syncing up on the vertical end, so I don't know what that's all about. So apologies, but it looks good on the regular side. Anyways, guys, how are you doing? Welcome to the show. YouTube's checking in over there. Over here on this side, I've actually synced things up a little bit where I'm able to see the chats a little bit better to interact. So my man over there, Robert, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you over there. Amanda over here on Rumble. Everybody else is there checking in. We'll check the boxes as we get going. Tonight we got a good episode for you, and I've learned my lesson from the recent mermaid video that I put up there. Not to dismiss stories that have been submitted to me because they make me chuckle, and this is a story that made me chuckle, and then I did some investigation on it, and again, it's going to be something that's going to sit back and literally it's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind because it is something else that made me rethink the world or the reality that we live in. It is not what we think it is completely, and we are 100% not alone. And out of all of the stories that we've looked at and talked about on this show, the one we're about to get into right now is going to have probably just as many receipts as the other ones we've done. And I will give you my opinion at the end of it. And I hate to say it because it's the only word that I could find to describe it. Tonight we're going to be talking about frogmen. I said it again, like I said, I can't say the word without having a good laugh or having a good chuckle, but it is what it is tonight. And so we're going to get into I'm going to do things a little bit different. Normally I give you the who, the what, the when, the where, the why. But tonight I'm going to do it in kind of reverse order. I'm going to give you the where first, and then I'm going to start working back from the files and the data that's legitimately out there that you can go and look up. And I tell you what, it's going to make you scratch your head. So tonight we're going to get into, again, we're going to be talking about Frogman. And this recently came across my plate. Someone submitted it to me because there was a video that was going around out of Mexico of what appeared to be a frogman-like creature. I couldn't rule it out as AI because it was literally such a good video, but that's where we're at. Like if I post up a video that's grainy, the haters say, oh, it's too blurry. Of course, it was filmed with a potato. I post up a video that somebody sent me and like, oh, that's too clear. Then they're going to say it's AI. This is just the world we live in now. It's not ever going away. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you these facts, and then you can make your own determination and let me know what you think about it as we go along. So tonight, here's the where. Loveland, Ohio is where I'm going to start. And shout out to anybody from Ohio as we get going, because I used to sleep on Ohio, but Ohio appears to be full of fiduciary. And we're going to start around a small community that lies along this little Miami River near Cincinnati, right? Now this area is circled by, it's like on the map, it appears to be the connecting area of three counties: Hamilton County, Claremont County, and Warren County, right? And there is a river, Little Miami River, that runs through those counties or along those counties as we go. And there is a couple unnamed bridges. I couldn't find names of these bridges, right? And there has been, since 1955 to 2026, actually, there has been reportings of humanoid toad-like creatures in those waters, around those waters, and on those bridges, right? And I'm going to break those down for you. The first one, the earliest report I could find was 1955. I didn't go back any farther because I thought 1955 was a pretty decent, chunk of time to go back and look at. 1955, right, was the earliest report. And this report was basically a sighting took place in May 1955 when a traveling salesman, I guess they used to travel around the country and sell stuff, right, reported seeing 3 frog-like creatures on this unnamed bridge going across the Little Miami River, right? He described them as being 3 to 4 feet tall. They looked, like he said, like they had the body of, a humanoid body, but they had these big, massive heads that looked like bullfrogs, and there was no neck. And some variations of his stories, I couldn't confirm it, going back and forth. And some variations mentioned that one of the figures was holding a stick of some sort, right? But he described it more like a wand, and there was some type of like energy source coming out of the back of it on that. What's going on? Let me see if I get your name right, man. Quinn Hamelin. Welcome, but hey, we love new people around here. Make yourself at home, dog. We're just going to be chopping up, talking about Frogmen, right? But stick with me, bro. I'm bringing you the receipts, and I think you'll be impressed at the end of it, right? So this happened in 1955. Now, there were several other little reports or sightings that took place, but they didn't meet my criteria of what I thought that would be like a credible source, right? I'm only trying to bring credible receipts on this, right? So I fast forward from 1955, y'all, to 1972. Now, 1972, these creatures again were spotted, but this time they were spotted by the police. On March 3rd, 1972, Officer Ray Shockey was patrolling that stretch of road on this road called Riverside Drive near the Little Miami River. I'm trying to give you as much locations as possible. You can ping them into your map as you go when you look it up, right? And again, if anybody's ever been to this area, I want to know about it. Now, what he said was routine night. He was working the night shift. You know, I didn't know how long he'd been out there, but we can safely assume that it was after dark. This road at the time had no street lights on it, street lamps or anything. 1972, doing the night patrol, Officer Ray Shockey, and he came across this bridge. I could not determine if this was the same bridge that was used in 1955 because these bridges don't have any names, right? So, and what he said is as he was driving, his headlights illuminated what he thought was a kid, right? And he stopped. He stopped the car because it was strange that it was so remote that there would be a child out here, right? And he turned on his little officer side light. I guess they have those back in the day. They used to have those lights that they could, control from the mirror. Big spotlight, hits it on the bridge. And what he sees is the same thing. He's described it as being a 4 foot tall, frog looking humanoid, right? He kind of froze. He wasn't quite sure what he was looking at, right? He didn't know, like, maybe this was some kind of costume. Was this some type of trickery? Was this some type of, who knows what it was, right? Got out of his car, locked the spotlight in place, got out of his car, came out there, had a flashlight, one of those big, long black flashlights that the police used to carry. Turns that on. And when he makes the clicking sound, it kind of breaks the trance or whatever. I guess he spotlighted this creature, right? If you don't know what spotlighting is, if you ever hit a deer with a spotlight, it'll freeze. I don't know why that happens, but it just does, right? So when he clicked his flashlight, he said that it broke the, trance or whatever, awoke the frogman up. Frogman jumps over the railing and jumps into the river, right? And I'm going to give you his exact words, right? He says he initially thought it was to be a small child. The creature stood up, appearing upright and frog-like, roughly 3 to 4 feet tall with leathery skin. And he said, then it jumped over the guardrail into the river. There's an actual police report for this. He filed a police report, right? Now, fun fact for police reports, in 1972, they are not online, and you have to submit usually a written request or an email or sometimes if you're in, like, I think it's Nevada, a letter. You have to mail them a letter, and they'll mail you the police report. But there's a police report for this. I just wasn't able to get it in my notes on time, right? But there's a police report for it. Now, he wrote that up, sent that into the office, went back, made his investigation or whatever. And again, he was with, this is important, he was with the Claremont County Police Department, right? And remember, this area has 3 counties around it, the Hamilton, Claremont, and the Warren County, right? So if you want to get this report for yourself, you got to send this to the Claremont County clerk and you'll be able to get that report. And if you do get that, let me know because I'd like to read it myself. Now, fast forward, right? 2 weeks later, same route, same exact route, right? Deputy Mark Matthews, this time, same police, the same Claremont County, Sheriff's Department or whatever, was making that drive as well. And when he was making that drive, he encountered the exact same thing, right? However, they had already talked about this amongst themselves, at the police station, and the other officers were dialed in on what it was. So his reaction was a little bit different. He saw it, put a spotlight on it, jumped out of his car and shot it. He took a shot at it. He pulled his pistol out and shot this creature, right? Now, again, and because he discharged his weapon, a police report had to be filed. So in his police report, he stated that he saw this same thing, 3 foot tall, 4 foot tall creature, jumped out of his car, pulled out his sidearm, shot it, and he hit it. Now, this is where things get weird because the rest of his police report, again, has been redacted. Now, there's 2 ways to redact information. You can redact it like if you're following anything that's going on with these Epstein files. When they redact it, they just block it out in a black, marker. Let me click quick. David checking in over in Rumble. How you doing over there, buddy? Welcome. Got Rumble going on my left, YouTube going on the right, guys. Like I said, I got it set up better to interact with the chat as we go. David, welcome. We're talking about Frogmen over here, bro. Stick with me, man. It's a good one. So anyways, Deputy Mark Matthews saw the same creature that Officer Ray Shockey saw in the exact same place. He jumped out of his squad car, pulled out his sidearm, he shot the creature, and he hit the creature. And he had to file a police report because he discharged his firearm in the line of duty. And he wrote down in his statement everything that he wrote down had happened, except when it got to the part after he hit the creature. That part has been redacted, but it has been redacted as it has been completely removed from the police report. Most redactions, they just block it out with like a Sharpie or something like that. But his report was completely removed. And fast forward 3 or 4 years later, they made a amendment to his report where Mark Matthews says he shot an iguana that was missing a tail sitting on the railing of the bridge. Complete and utter whatever, man. Total lies, right? Not even very clever, right? And I'm going to tell you the reasons why that doesn't stand up, right? He says he shot an iguana that was missing a tail. That's what he said, right? Iguanas aren't 3 to 4 feet tall. They don't stand up on 2 legs or whatever. And again, a police officer jumping out of his car, pulling out his sidearm and shooting an iguana. This doesn't hold up. I don't even think iguanas are in the wild in Ohio. Maybe it was an escaped iguana. I don't even know, right? But don't believe those lies, right? Again, that right there also made me tug on a little bit harder because now I know they're lying. You know what I'm saying? Now I know that they're lying, right? So, or they're covering something up. They only hide what they're afraid of. They don't do it so much anymore. I don't know if you follow the world's current events or if you don't follow or what's going on, with all the crazy stuff going on in the world. They don't even try to lie to us good anymore. They have no fear of us anymore, literally. Or there's something, I think something's about to break off and they don't have the time to lie. They're trying to hurry their plans along. And when they rush their plans along, things get sloppy, right? Anyways, so again, That was, March, 14 days. That was March 27, 1972, when Mark Matthews spotted it. March 3rd, 1972, exact same place. Ray Shockey saw the same thing. Again, a lot of more reports are in there, but again, between them, it kind of gets a little bit, sideways. I would say bombastic. Some of the reportings that would come in until you get to August 2016, right? Now, this is very important right here. August 2016, a man named Sam Jacobs was in this area, but he traveled from Cincinnati. He was actually playing this game called Pokemon Go or something like that. And he says that I might have got that date wrong. I got to double check that year. It was in August. I don't think Pokemon Go was it was probably, I think it was 2016, August 2016, right? He was playing this game called Pokemon Go, right? And again, this has a police report attached to it. And he had to put in what he was doing down there. He was also with his girlfriend, whose name I could not find, right? But Sam Jacobs gave up his name, no problem, right? And they were on this place near Loveland, Madeira Road, and Lake Isabella in Loveland, Ohio. I don't know if that's anywhere near this unnamed bridge, but that's their exact location. He was in Loveland, Ohio, off of Loveland, Madeira Road, and Lake Isabella. And they were playing this game. Pokemon Go, I guess, is you walk around with your cell phone and you try to catch these, Pokemons in the wild and stuff like that. As they approached the lake, he said he encountered, several huge frogs is what he thought at first. They were on all fours on the ground. He said they were massive, the size of boulders, right? And all of a sudden, he thought it was cool. He got his girlfriend's attention to take a look at it. And then they stood up, and there was several of them stood up, right? She immediately lets out a blood-curdling scream. And when she did that, all of these creatures run. I don't know how far, but I guess they were kind of close to the riverbank. They run and go headfirst into the water, and they take off, right? He freaks out a little bit. She's having a panic attack, a nervous breakdown or something like that. They get back to the road, call the police. The police show up. He tells them what happened. They make a formal police report. But here's where it gets slightly different in his case. The media picked up his case, right? And that's where the official name from the Loveland Frogman came from. It got its nickname from this article, right? Local news coverage came up, man. And actually Sam Jacobs in a hurry was able to click off some photographs with his phone. And he said he got a very short video. I could not find his video. And his photographs, I could not find in good enough quality that wasn't trampled over with other people posting stuff. And to be able to post them into this current episode, because like I said, I did this research. I moved around the production schedule to get this episode on. I'm going to see if I can clean those photographs up, and I'll post them out on the YouTube community or Instagram, TikTok, X, Facebook, all the places. If you're new to the channel, guys, hit the link tree in my bio and you can go over there and follow me on TikTok and Instagram as well. And that's where you can see the short form content we do. But anyway, so he has these photos, and of course they dump on them. They say they're too blurry or whatever. Sure. Again, I don't understand too why people are so critical with people in high stress situations, saying that could they not hold their phone still, or could they not, take a better picture? I don't know. Could if you walked up on a frog, a group of 4 foot tall frogs standing up, could you do it? I don't know. So, yes, Quinn Hamlin, something going on. People don't go. Yes, exactly. People just don't go to the police for no reason, right? And I'll tell you the number one reason why they don't do it, especially in these cryptid investigations. That's a good point, Quinlan. Because of the ridicule, right? You got to have it. I get arrows thrown at me all the time. I don't even really care, man. I just laugh them off, man. And if it's a really good zinger, like I'll post it up on one of my TikToks or one of my Instagrams or whatever. I'll give credit where credit is due, because, I can laugh at myself. But they don't go to the police without having something serious in mind because of fear of the ridicule, right? And he gives his name. And again, that's one of the things on the channel that has to be like, again, you know, if you've been here long enough, you know, I won't look into something unless I can agree something strange happened, right? We can argue about it, what it was. We can dig into what it was. We can debate what it was, but something happened. These people are seeing something in Loveland, Ohio. For 70 plus years, they're seeing something in Loveland, Ohio, right? A frogman of some type, right? So now check this out. I could still, you could go on and on and on for this frogman thing in Loveland, Ohio. Like there's hundreds of these, you know, sightings and reportings, but I only picked the 4 official ones, the 4 that had news articles associated with them, police reports associated with them, and people not scared to give their names, right? Now, follow me on this. Stay with me on this now. That's the micro level. Let's pull back to the macro level and let's look at the entire United States of America, specifically for this type of cryptid, an amphibious 3 to 4 foot tall frog-looking creature, and see what you come up with. And I'm telling you now, they're everywhere where there's water. Going back here, the first reports that I could find, late 1960s, early 70s, Warsaw, Illinois had a breakout of these things right along the Mississippi River, right? Multiple locals were reporting upright frog-like figures near the river banks, all up and down this area. Multiple ones, right? Also, fishermen were encountering them in the waters. Late 60s, early 70s. And here's where it gets even stranger. Motorists at night were reporting them as well. So you had locals on the ground, fishermen in the water, and people traveling the area at night were seeing these, right? Now, 1970s to the 80s, there is a massive dump of these reports along the Susquehanna River in Pennsylvania. Some of them started out sporadic, again, bipedal amphibious figures, often described as large frogs walking like men. For 10 years, this was seen in the Susquehanna River in Pennsylvania. Multiple reports. Same thing as what they were seeing in Ohio. Same thing as what they were seeing in Illinois on the Mississippi River, right? Now, right after that, the next batch of these reports that I could find, right, come out of the Ohio River Valley, Kentucky, West Virginia bordering areas, 1980s, 1990s. Same thing. Massive reports of these toad creatures were being seen, right? And people were saying they were being seen mostly in the following areas: river crossings, culverts, and back roads, right? They were seeing these creatures, right? So then I said, I'm going to expand my search, away from Ohio. I'm going to go out a little bit higher. Bam. First thing I drilled in on was the Georgia swamp region from the 30s to the 50s. 20 years, right? Going back through that, right? People were describing these descriptions of frog people. But down in Georgia, they named them as these swamp walkers, is what they would call them, right? It's like my neighborhood, our legend, the Little Creek Monster, goes back to the 50s and it's scanned by the water. Yeah, the Little Creek Monster. There you go. You might. If you know what, let me know what that description is, and I'll write that down. Let me write that down. As a matter of fact, I might take a look at that. Little Creek Monster. See what we can dig up on that. So anyways, right? But I didn't stop there. Pulled back even further because if it's in the Georgia swamps, I thought it might be down here in Florida. Bam. Everglades. 1990s to the 2000s. This was the most recent one. In the Everglades, people were reporting seeing upright reptilian or amphibious figures, right? Now the Everglades are a little bit different than some of the other areas because the Everglades don't really have roads to go through it. It's really hard terrain back there. So the reporting of these creatures going through the Everglades, they're described as reptilian figures as well. Some of them amphibian, but I couldn't find a definitive like, hey, frogman description as it was in all the other states that I just mentioned there. Those washers and canals to prevent flooding. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. They set up things to prevent flooding, man. And it routes right to these creatures, right? So that's a great point, in my opinion, right? So now I decided to do something else, right? Because if you watched my mermaid video that I did a couple episodes ago, right? Where I had to eat some crow on that, right? You know, as you know here, we look into the cryptids and we tie things back in a lot. In a neat little a bow, I should say, as we get going on it. The mermaid legends or the mermaid folklore or the mermaid sightings are global, right? So is Bigfoot, and the other one that's global is this Duende, the little people, the gnomes, the pugwudgies, right? So I said to myself, let me see if this frogman is a global phenomenon as well. And wait for it. It is. So I said, let me drill into Central and South America. So Central America, South America, this is where you can find these. I don't even know if I can call them legends anymore. More like folklore or, reports of these beings is what I want to say. Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Brazil, right? Peru, Mexico, Ecuador, right? Those are the ones that those Central and South American countries are the ones who have the highest concentration of these frogman sightings, right? And like I said, the video that I saw this frogman creature was out of Mexico. And when I go in there and I look at it and I start talking to, not talking, I should say, when I go in there and I look at it and I start doing my research and I start putting it through the filters on to, justify doing a show about it, there's a common theme that keeps popping up with these frogmen. The earliest reportings that you'll find of them in the Central and South America countries around the 1850s, 1830s, to the 1900s. That's the earliest, right? Central and South America back then, even now really, I would say, very dense jungles, very remote areas. I don't think unless you've ever been to those jungles and been in there before, you can't really get an appreciation of how difficult they are to traverse, right? These people are describing the exact same creature and they're using different words for it, right? And all of these people down there, I'm sure some of the native tribes down there have their own dialect, but they're all speaking Spanish and they all have different words for it as well. So I didn't stop there. I pulled back and I added the same, filters to the global structure of these creatures to see if they were a global phenomenon. And the reason why I did that, because I was looking for references or patterns, I should say, of people that are separated by language, oceans, religion, and time. It's very important. Time is important because these people over here in the 1600s talking about something and people are reporting it now in the 1800s and they've never had any type of contact with each other ever, right? So I'm going to break this down for you right now and give you some names and just give you as much information as possible so that you can, defend yourself tomorrow when you're talking about the Frogman episode that we just did tonight, right? Japan. In Japan, I lived in Japan for 7 years. I've heard this before. The kappa. The kappa is a river-dwelling amphibious humanoid associated with drowning, deception, and forbidden acts. It's one of the oldest documented water humanoids ever. The oldest one I could find about these creatures was in Japan, and it's from 13 something, right? Japan, the kappa. Now we're gonna double back to the kappa. Well, we'll just get out of the way now. The kappa is a frog-like creature that will pull you into the water and drown you in Japan, right? Pull you down, right? And people to this day are still reporting seeing the kappas, right? Now, Japan is not a very big country, but it's very densely populated in areas like, you know, Tokyo, Yokohama, Osaka, Sapporo. Okinawa is down south. It's really not with the mainland. Misawa is not that, you know, crowded, but Japan has massive amounts of land that's just country, right? Massive amounts, right? And to this day, they're still reporting seeing the kappa, right? Now, I'm going to bounce around a little bit. Mexico, the earliest reference I could find was during the Aztec area, right? And they call these things the Tilocons, right? But they said they're, you know, they describe them as water guardians and like that, right? And forces of divine boundaries or whatever. But they were linked to punishment and floods. Colombia, El Hombre Sapo, the Toad Man is what it was, right? Appears near rivers and wetlands, short, bipedal, same thing. 3 to 4 foot tall frogman, exactly the same thing, right? Brazil, they speak Portuguese in Brazil. They don't speak Spanish in Brazil. Brazil call it the Mapinagore. I can't pronounce that right. Upright posture, skin around the water, same thing. Go to Peru. Peru, I couldn't find a name for them in Peru, right? I don't know why that is. I couldn't find a nickname they had for them, but they refer to them. The closest translation to the one I could find is they call them water demons, water spirits, right? Human animal hybrids, exactly, man. Now this was recorded in Peru in the 1500s, right? Let's see. Some description of yours called the green faced ghoul. Some say a face like a bulldog. Okay, about 6 foot humanoid creature. All right. Well, we'll take a look at that, brother. Go down to Costa Rica, right? Same thing. I couldn't find a name for Costa Rica or Panama, right? But same thing, right? Frogmen, Costa Rica, Panama, Ecuador, around the Amazon basin in Ecuador, right? No, in Panama, they call them water guardians. In Costa Rica, they call them river spirits. I'm sorry, I did write that down. You go to Ecuador, they refer to them as the river entities or the shuar for some reason, right? Now, pull out of the Western Hemisphere, right? Let's go over to England. British Isles, they call them nicks, knickers, bogmen. But this time, again, the same thing about these in Ireland, man. Ireland has a very, very strange thing going on in Ireland. Ireland said they can, again, when I was talking, Ireland says they can shapeshift, right? And they said the same thing when I was doing the mermaids or in the I forget the sirens over there, that they've said the Irish lore said they could shapeshift. That's like the third or fourth thing that I've noticed about Ireland cryptids. They always seem to have some type of shape-shifting element to it, right? And they're sometimes described, you know, they says they're sometimes known for luring humans into the water and never, you know, being seen again. Now, you go over to Germany, Central Europe, they call them the Wassermann or the Nix. And that's funny too, because it's the same thing that the Nix, the Nix, is the same thing that they refer them to when they're in the British Isles. They call them the Nix, right? In Germany, the same thing, they call them Nix. So again, associated with drowning, deception. Go to France. The France has a specific name for them. La Grenouille Noire, or the black frog, right? Only appears at night, only appears at waterways, and will drown you. Okay, let's head over to South Africa. South Africa, they call them the Tokoloshe. Again, but in South Africa, they have the same description as the ones that are in Ireland, saying these beings can shapeshift, right? Slick frog-like features, often tied to water, night encounters, and they'll drown you, right? Again, now head over to China. The Chin Chan is what they call it, the Jin Chan, right? Mythical humanoid linked to forbidden knowledge and transformation. That's what they call them in China. Now, head all the way down to Australia. I got a lot of people that hit me up saying that Mermaids were down in Australia and New Zealand, and I left them out. So I'm sorry for you guys down there, for you Kiwis and you Aussies. This is just for you guys. I made a purpose to go down to Australia to see if they're down there. And bam, frogmen cryptids are in Australia. The exact same ones that they are describing in freaking Ohio. 3 to 4 feet tall, swamp, river entities, right? They're called the Bunyip, Bunyip. The Bunyips, right? Some Aboriginals description sees them walking upright as well. Upright, amphibious creatures down in Australia, exactly the same ones that they have in Loveland, freaking Ohio, right? And I tell you what, that right there pretty much sealed the deal for me, right? When I pulled that up, I didn't look any further because that's enough information. I didn't go to India or any places like that, but I stopped on that because I had to get this episode rolling or my notes done. So these frogmen meet the exact same criteria as Bigfoot, Duendes, mermaids. They meet the exact same criteria. A lot of people think that the most reported cryptid on the planet is the Bigfoot. It's not. It's the Duende, the gnome, the pugwudgie. You can find the earliest reports of the Duende. Go to my EnigmaCast roster. Go in there and look at it. Me and Sasquatch Steve did an episode on it. They're first reported coming out of Spain. They don't show up into Central and South America until the conquistadors do. And then when the conquistadors leave Central and South America, they don't show up until the Philippines until the Spaniards show up there as well. They migrate all up through Central and South America, all the way far as Nantucket, Massachusetts. Matter of fact, they have the Duende crossing. They call them pugwudgies up there, right? Little pugwudgies crosses, right? Robert, I could not find a frogman reporting coming out of Tennessee, but I didn't look. I stopped around Kentucky, and I'll tell you why I think that Tennessee might have these down there as well. So just hold that thought. So the Duende is the most reported cryptid on the planet, right? Second is the Bigfoot. Third turns out to be mermaids, right? Fourth, I don't know, these frogmen's got to be in there somewhere. And here's what they all have in common. They are all connected in multiple cultures, dozens of cultures that are separated by time, distance, language, and religion. Each one of these cultures talks about this specific type of beings out there, right? Specific type of beings, right? In there. Now, let me answer this question via the chat. Robert, do you think that these things are in Tennessee? Yes, I think they're in Tennessee. Here's the reason why. Is because when I looked at the Kentucky River Basin area and I looked at the West Virginia aspect of it, not only are these things amphibious in the lakes and the rivers, they're probably amphibious in lakes and rivers and cave systems as well. And so I probably think that the Appalachian mountain range, which runs from Georgia, above ground Georgia, all the way up to the eastern part of Canada. Like we've talked about on this show, it's been verified to be the oldest mountain range on the planet. When Pangea was still when the continents were all connected, the Appalachian mountain range existed. It didn't form. It broke off and drifted. Caves run from Georgia all the way down to, I think it was to Mississippi. And then from Mississippi, I know those cave systems go all the way down to Louisiana. I actually think that's how Asheville, Tennessee got flooded. I think there was a surge that came up the Mississippi, came up through those cave systems up there and flooded out to the top of that mountain and washed down in conjunction with the rain that was happening as well. So I do think these amphibious creatures are probably scattered all through the Appalachian mountain ranges. However, I look for massive clusters. I kind of cherry picked, right? I look for massive clusters of these reports coming in and I listed them on there, right? Now, so yes, go fishing. Just take your pistol with you. Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised they haven't been reported between the land between the lakes. That's actually a good point, Robert. And again, here's the thing too. I should have checked, right? I didn't check to see if there was any type of cryptid correlation with it. For example, it's if you follow even if you're a casual Bigfoot enthusiast, right, you will see that a lot of people are referring to the Bigfoot now as the woo. There's more and more, paranormal aspect to it, for a lack of a better word. But also, too, Bigfoot sightings and Dogman sightings are they're connected, right? So if you go and look at the land between the lakes, massive Bigfoot sightings, massive Dogman sightings as well, right? Now, so I should go back and check to see about if there's any connection between other cryptids showing up, right? But yeah, so it wouldn't surprise me that it would be the land between the lakes, or again, if there was some type of territorial situation where they couldn't be, or if they went there, they would be I don't want to say eaten, but there would be some type of thing going on, right? And I'll tell you the reason why that is, right? Because I do a lot of deep dives into these creatures, right? And I've talked several times about how Bigfoots, Dogmen, Mermaids, Duendes, and these Frogmen, there's an intelligence here. There's a humanoid intelligence to it, right? And if you take a humanoid intelligence, it is always goes in conjunction with hierarchy, structure. For example, pack mentality. Wolves are extremely smart. They have a pack mentality. Wolves don't just walk in like, a line of random. The pack leader is normally always towards the back so we can adjust the situation. The strongest hunters are at the front. The oldest wolves are in the middle, surrounded by the puppies and the weaker wolves, right? So he's at the back so that he can, he can direct the pack, right? So when you get something that has higher than normal intelligence like that going through it, you also get society on that. And so there must be some type of structure, or at a minimum, some type of pack mentality to it, where if it encountered another apex predator like a pack of dogmen, I don't know how they would mix, but I'll look into it. Right. So now, having given this information, and again, now I am fully convinced and on board that this is, 100% a legitimate phenomenon, right? It always goes back to where'd they come from? How are they here? And again, all conspiracy theories, man, lead back to the Bible. All of them do, right? And again, if you go to the bottom of it, it leads back to Jesus. Again, I was having a conversation with somebody that, fun fact for you, did you know that I think it was Alexander the Great only has about 5 works of literature assigned to his name? And I think that, that would say that he was a real person. I think Julius Caesar has like 27, something like that. I think Genghis Khan had like 13. But then, like, if you go to the Jesus Christ, he has 22,500, works of proving his life. And so that right there, and again, if you're not religious, that's cool. These are historical references as well, right? Like history, religion, whatever religion you are, has a history tied into it, right? And you can use these historical religious dates as markers for timestamps, right? Like, BC, AD, going down there, right? So when I start tracing back the lineage, start tracing back the roots of, by the way, you should be praying to Jesus, though. I'm just saying, that's what I do, especially if you're looking at this stuff back here, right, on the wall. You should be doing that, right? There's a spiritual aspect to this. People ask me, hey, how can I get into this? How can I do this stuff? I'm telling you, it's not for a week. It's not for the weak, right? And sometimes if you look into some things, it starts looking back, right? So just be careful on that. It goes back to the Watchers, the book of Enoch, referenced in Genesis, the Sumerian tablets out of Samaria, ancient Babylon. 200 Watchers came down, took human wives, had the Nephilim, and then started committing sin against all forms of animals and plants, right? Again, they were doing animal-human hybrid experiments. Now we know that, and here's where I want to connect some dots with you on that. The Watchers corrupted creation. The flood didn't erase everything. You know that by looking at the Bible or looking at historical documents that giants existed, right? Still do, actually. Then the real question isn't whether these hybrid beings existed. That's not the question, because you know it did exist, because cause and action, the flood. The question you should be asking yourself right now is, did any of them live after the flood, right? Yes, David, it does say that. Mermaids are the cursed women who mated with the angels. Exactly how it is. That was their punishment. When it says the watchers took wives, they didn't kidnap these women. These women went willingly with them, right? And they willingly participated in the downfall and the corruption of society or the planet, right? So their punishment was they were turned into mermaids and cast into the sea, and sirens, right? So now, yeah, that's the question. We know hybrid beings existed because of the flood and because of several, documents telling us that's what caused the flood. We should be asking our question, did any survive? And we know they did survive. So let's just use our logic on this and go through it. Could an amphibious, merman, mer creature, frog creature survive? The answer is yes. Absolutely. Anything in the water could survive, right? Especially if it was hunkered down in these cave systems or, however. So we know that, so many scholars will argue this, right? That I slightly disagree with them on some things, but I agree with them on this right here, and I want to articulate this right, man. The flood destroyed mostly everything, is what we should be saying. Not everything, right? It didn't say that it wiped the earth clean. We know that's not true. We know that things lived after the flood. We know that. We know that the Watchers, the Anunnaki, or the Nephilim, they created the entire race of the Fae. All the fairy tale stuff that we hear about in legends and lore, right? They created it, right? So that's how we should be saying this. The flood destroyed mostly everything, but not everything, right? Now, here's what we got to do as we close this thing out right now. We have to understand that, of course, anything living in caves, oceans, underground, isolated entities with the ability to, survive in the water for, extended periods of times probably had a higher than average percent of living, right? However, do not rule this out that this is something man-made. You just can't do it anymore. I've talked about this several times on the channel, that Japan right now is making cat girls. I've talked about it. They have the ability to do gene splicing between cats and girls. They're doing it. Elon Musk gave them a bunch of money to do it. We know about the animal-human hybrid testing that was taking place with the end of World War II. We know about Operation Paperclip. We know that when the Dogman started showing up a lot of places was after World War II when we took them over here. We know that we brought those guys over here. We've talked about the Joe Barger story. I've also talked about several times about how Congress has tried to ban animal-human hybrid testing, and it's been shut down by the Department of Homeland Security because they say they want to make pig hearts for pig transplants. We all know that's a lie, right? I've talked to several people who have said that they are, and again, there's credible stuff to it. They're releasing these things into national forest so that they can hunt them, to test them. Some of them saying that they're using them for underground fighting and stuff like that. Who knows? You just can't rule it out, right? And again, you need to come to grips that everything you've been taught in your whole entire life is a lie. Your history is a lie. Everything you have been taught is a lie. Everything, for the reasons we went into World War II, to the reasons we went into World War I, to everything. I don't know if you've had a chance to read the Martin Luther King files that came out. I'm actually debating on doing a story on this, but MLK was 100% a CIA or FBI op. He did not believe in Jesus. He did not believe in the virgin birth. He did not believe in the resurrection. He had multiple affairs, had like 40 illegitimate children or something like that, participated in orgies, and a few sexual aggressive assaults as well, or supposedly in his files. I haven't read them yet. I'm debating on whether to do a a episode about that because it doesn't really fall into like what I like talking about. That's more of a conspiracy theory thing that is something. But that's just telling you right now that everything that you've been told your whole life is a lie, right? All of it, right? Even the food pyramid that they told you was a lie, right? It's all about corporate greed. It's all about a satanic agenda to specifically weaken the population of men. That's all it is, right? And they have their reasons for that as well, but don't worry about it too much. They're going to lose. Now, in closing, y'all, we're about to wrap this up here. In closing, I'm going to just leave you guys with a thought, right? I actually wrote this down, right? So you guys can, just follow my thought with it. Again, I wish it had a better name than Frogman, but that's what it is, right? When you look at this type of evidence and when you look at this type of phenomenon, one sighting can be a mistake, right? One sighting can be like, hey, look, I thought I saw something. It's not. One story can be like a folklore, a good old fashioned, scary folklore, right? But when the same type of being shows up across centuries, cultures and continents, again, space and time, right? Especially near water, describing the exact same thing, exact same attributes, the exact same behavior. It's no longer a story, bro. It's a pattern, right? It's a pattern. It's not a myth. It's a pattern. Again, take the woohoo out of it if you want, right? You're seeing a pattern taking place here, not a myth, right? And so when I talk about these type of stories, I get people come at me. I don't know why I irritate people with these stories, man. I don't know why it is, man, but they get really aggressive and they want to come at me. And I just want to say, hey, look, man, I'm not asking you guys to believe everything that I talk about or every account that I do on this show. I'm not asking you to believe that. What I'm asking you to do is notice the consistency of the descriptions and the global phenomenon that takes place, right? Even when the witnesses didn't know each other, they described the exact same thing. These people don't share a culture. Some of these people are enemies, straight up enemies, would fight on sight, right? And none of them profit at all from coming forward on this. It's the exact opposite. They're often open themselves up to massive amounts of ridicule, right? So again, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe this. You don't have to believe anything I just told you. Again, I just lay the breadcrumbs. You guys go out and do your own research on it and let me know what you come across. But you have to acknowledge a pattern. You have to. You have to acknowledge a pattern. And this isn't like a town in the deep south passing it down generation after generation. This is global, right? So keep an open mind. Do your own research. Open up your mind to the possibilities that we don't live on an earth that you think we do. We live on an incredible, more like a Lord of the Rings type of earth than ever imagined possible, man. Monsters are real, y'all. They're real. And so my verdict on this Frogman, despite the name, there's just too much evidence, there's too much coincidence, and there's just too much pattern recognition going forward to say that this thing is not legitimately something. So anyways, we're about to wrap it up right here, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining the lives, man. I'm trying to go live. I will go live once a month at a minimum. We got some really good episodes in pre-production. I'm just going to drop very soon. And let me check the chat over here. Rumble, thanks for hanging out. David, thanks for hanging out over there, everybody. Thanks, Robert. Thanks for Quinn. Thank you guys for hanging out over there. I see a lot more people are watching. Look, when you guys watch my show, it tells me how many people are watching. So stop hating, start participating, get in that chat. No one's going to make fun of you in there. Not too much anyway. So Quinn, thanks for showing up, man. Thanks for showing up, you guys. If it's the first time you find us, guys, do us a favor. I don't monetize this show. I leave it up there for free, but I would appreciate a subscribe, a thumbs up. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section below. Also, if you have any context to add to what I just talked about, right? Please, I'd like to hear it, and please add it to the comments to share it with the rest of our audience, right? So, as you know how I do around here, guys, I'm getting better doing it. I'm left-handed. Enjoy the rest of your night. Let me get over here real quick. And that's all you get for $1, nerds. And we're out.
Subscribe now and turn on the notifications to join us on this extraordinary journey into the unknown.